Hello everybody, welcome to a GeoYukon lesson. Today is the first video in our series and it is called GeoYukon The Basics. I'm going to be covering how to access GeoYukon and going over the layout of the application and doing some basic tasks to kind of give you a demonstration on how to best use it. So feel free to follow along or just sit back and watch me go about my business here. So first off, what is GeoYukon? GeoYukon is a public mapping and data discovery platform. It's maintained by the government of Yukon. All branches contribute to data sets and imagery. It's just essentially a way to interact with the most up-to-date spatial data. It's the most current spatial data. We work really hard to keep it up to date and to get new data into it as fast as possible. And we're encouraging people, if you're looking for spatial data, start with GeoYukon, and I think you'd be surprised at what's available. So to get started, there's two ways of doing it. Open up a browser. I suggest using Chrome. You can type GeoYukon into the search bar, and it's the first result that comes up on Google. The other way to do it is to simply open a browser window and type that address in there, yukon.ca/GeoYukon, and it will take you to the landing page, and I'm going to demonstrate that in a second here. So a quick orientation. On the left, probably one of the most useful tools is the layers, and these are all of the available data sets that can be displayed on the map. And when you click the layer collection drop down, you'll see the themes, and underneath of these themes are the layers themselves and kind of information on what exactly is available. Toolbars are found at the top of the screen, just like Microsoft products or Esri products, or basically any application you're going to be using. So the toolbars are ways to search, interact, export maps, download files, upload files, draw, etc. There are quite a few tools, and I encourage you to play around with them and see what's available. The I want to menu is, if you click on that, and I'll demonstrate that as well in a second here, it lists the most common tasks. We kind of compiled what most people are wanting to do in GeoYukon, and that's just a quick way of accessing it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a demonstration of opening GeoYukon, the layers panel, toolbars, and the I want to menu. So I typed in GeoYukon into Google, and the first result, I clicked on it, and it took me to this page. So if you have a specific theme that you're looking for, these are created by the departments, and they're just a quick way to display the data. So if you're looking for land and property information, you'd want to click on this collection, and everything deemed important for people looking for land and property information will be displayed. It's just a quick way of accessing it. But today we're going to start from scratch. We're going to click on View GeoYukon. And it takes a second to load. So there's a lot of data, and this is the screen we're greeted with. So as I mentioned, on the left here, click here to view layer collections. So we'll go ahead and click that. And these are all of the data sets available. So these are sort of the larger categories. And underneath of the majority of these, there's subcategories. So for instance, let's look what's under elevation. So there's several subcategories underneath of this main category. So to turn it on, we toggle it. A little check mark appears, and we can actually dig deeper into these subcategories and see what specifically is available. So why don't we go ahead and turn on contours. We'll expand it. And these are the contours and hyposymmetry that's available for the Yukon. I'm going to get more into layers and how they're displayed. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea how to turn stuff on and off and how to expand. As I mentioned, the find or the toolbars are up here. This is where you can do some analysis, where you can print maps, where you can import polygons or CSV files, quick ways to navigate around the map. Yeah, this is where the majority of, if you're looking to do any sort of anything other than viewing data, this is where you'll find the tools that are available. I'm going to get into some of the specific tools a little later. Again, I just wanted to point that out. And lastly, the I want to menu. These are the most common tools that people will be using, or that we have found people to be using. You can click on that to expand it. And here you can see, oh, there's my cat. Here you can see these are the most common tools that people are using. So, yeah. The other thing I should point out early on here, if you ever get messed up or if something doesn't look right or you get lost, just hit the refresh. It'll clear everything and take you right back to the start screen. I'll be doing that a lot because I'm going to bring some stuff up and then clear it. Okay, moving on. The next topic I want to talk about is map tools. And these are the tools found in the map window. They are tools to help you navigate around the map. So you'll find zoom tools, which pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to zoom in and out of the map. You'll find bookmarks, which are the Yukon communities. It's a quick way to go zoom straight to whatever community you're looking for, rather than trying to find it. You can find your current position on the map. You can choose your base maps, which are the underlying maps that your data will be displayed on. You can change the map's coordinate system. You can choose the scale of the map, or zooming in and out will change it as well. And there's an overview map. I'll give you a demo of the map tools. These in the top left of the viewing screen here are some of the accessible map tools. You can also find some of them up here. So we'll do the find your current position. You can find yourself, you can track you, you can get it to follow you. There we go. That's where I am right now, Porter Creek. You can use the plus or minus to zoom in and out, although you can also use your scroll if you have one on your mouse. To pan around the map, you simply left click, drag it, just like Google Maps or Bing Maps or Apple Maps. And here's the bookmarks I was talking about. So say we want to go to Mayo, open up the bookmarks. You can also do it up here. We'll bring that up as well. Boom, we're in Mayo. There's also the added functionality of creating your own bookmark. So say there's something on there that you want to keep and it's not available. Just go to a random area here Say we're doing a study in this area, we will bookmark the current extent, call it my bookmark, and it will actually save this bookmark. So when you return to GeoYukon, this bookmark, until you delete it, will always be available. And we'll just test to make sure it works. Go into my bookmarks. There we go. That's the bookmark we just created. So finding data on the map. This is important. It's one thing to have all these handy tools, but if there's no data to display, it's relatively useless. So I'm going to talk about two ways of finding and identifying data. One of the tools is the query tool. This is found under the find toolbar, and it's simply called query tool. You can pick a layer to query. You choose your query extent, and then you can enter the query or multiple queries that you're looking for. So this is very handy if you're looking for a specific piece of data with certain attributes. And the example I like to use is if you're looking for land parcels and specifically you want to know a certain area you want to query, so you want to bring up all the data that meets a certain specification, say like land size. So everything over 20,000 square meters, you want to bring up just that data in a specific area. It's a quick way of finding that data and highlighting it, as opposed to clicking each individual piece of information and doing it manually. The other way to find data is to identify it. So you can use, there's a find data tool in the toolbar. It's called find data. Or you can right click. Once you display a layer, you can right click and it'll bring up information. Or you can simply left click a feature. I will now demonstrate how to query and identify data. So we'll refresh. Okay, so finding data. Up here in the top toolbar, we'll head over to find. First, we'll do a query. So let's say we are looking for, what are we looking for? How about we do that land parcel example that I was talking about? So land parcel polygon. You kind of have to know what attributes are in these layers. It takes a bit of practice and it's just trial and error until you kind of get to know how to use these layers. I know, for instance, that land size is stored in this land parcels polygon. I just know that from experience. Yeah, you kind of just got to experiment. So we'll open we'll query the land parcel polygon dash surveyed because I know there's square meters in there. We will zoom into downtown Whitehorse, or I could use my bookmark. And specifically, I want to know on the south end here. So current extent, if we do all, it's going to bring up all data from all of the Yukon. But I specifically want to know just what's displayed. I want to know the feature area. So how big the lot is, and I want to know if there's anything greater than or equal to 20,000 square meters. I can add more conditions here. I can add subclauses to subtract data out of it. For simplicity's sake, for demonstration, I just want to know what parcels of land in this extent are greater than 20,000 square meters. We'll run a search, and there's quite a bit. So this will bring up everything in the extent that's greater than 20,000 square meters. And to interact with the data, to zoom in, you can hover over top of it. It'll bring up those parcels. And if you click on it, it will actually zoom into just that, highlight it, and give you all of the metadata. So here we can see the Canadian Land Surveyor record number. You can see the plan number. You can see what block it is, and you can see how big the feature area is. All right, I'll go ahead and refresh here. And it's important to mention that that query tool can be used on any given layer. It doesn't have to be land parcels or anything like that. Okay, next up, we're going to identify imagery. I just right-click there, but we don't have any layers present, so there's not really anything to identify. So why don't we'll do that same example, but I'll show you a different way of getting information. So under the land tenure, and again, this just comes with trial and error and figuring out how and where to locate these layers. We'll toggle that on, and we'll use our bookmark here. We'll zoom into Greater Whitehorse here. Maybe go down to the same area, and I'm going to toggle. So I'm going to turn on that same layer, which is the surveyed land layer. I've turned on the land parcels, and here we can see they're displayed. I don't have any labels set up, and I'll show you how to do that in a later demo. Let's say for this example, we know what lot we're looking for. We just want a little more information. You can left click. So all I did is left click. It brought up this little box here. You can save it as a favorite to remember, or you can use it to view additional details, and it'll bring up that same metadata here, the same information. I'm going to X out of that, and the other way to bring up information is to right click, find data on map, and it'll bring up the exact same thing. And I'll simply left click on it, and there's information. So navigating the map, I won't touch on this too much. I kind of already did. As I mentioned, you can zoom, you can pan. I showed you the bookmarks. I've actually already showed you the custom bookmarks. And what I will show you is the navigate toolbar and the overview map. Here's a demonstration. Okay, so I've already mentioned the ability to use your scroll on your mouse to zoom in and out, just left click to pan. You can also do it this way with the navigate tool up in the toolbar here. Well, it's the same thing, zooming in and out. You can toggle that on, and you can choose a square, and it'll zoom you right in. Same for zooming out, zooming in, same thing. You can go back to your initial view, which was our full overview. You can go to the full extent, which just takes you to all of Yukon. You can also toggle the pan if you prefer to do it that way. Doesn't really make a difference. There's another way to access bookmarks. I think you'll find the way that works best for you the more you play around with it. And lastly, there's this overview map. So down in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see open and close the overview map. You can turn that on, and you can drag this little box around to get whatever view it is that you want. So yeah, those are the basic ways of navigating. So I'm going to dive a little deeper into the layer plant panel. I kind of briefly touched on it at the beginning. I'm going to talk about displaying the layers, the layer collections available, how to control visibility, and I'll talk about the layer menu, how to zoom to full extent or visible scale. I guess we kind of already touched on that, but we'll do it again. How to control the labels. This is an important part of the layer menu. If you want to do any custom mapping, or if you want to see certain attributes displayed, such as lot size or the name. If you're looking at faults and you want to know the names of faults and you want to see that on the map, you can do that. How to download layers, and I'll show you how to get to the metadata, which is stored on premise, and that contains all the information related to the layer that you're seeing. So if you want to know a little more about what you're looking at, the metadata link is a good way to do that. I'll give you a quick demo here. Okay, so for this demo, I'm going to talk about the layer panel here on the left-hand side that I kind of breezed over. So again, to view and toggle layers, we click on this box here. Click here to view layer collection. And here we can see all of the available data sets. I'll leave these data sets for you to explore. I think the sort of main point here is to expand and to toggle and to keep expanding. Just because you don't see something under the first sort of collection doesn't mean it doesn't exist under another. The other thing too to remember is toggling it may not always allow it to display. And that's because some of these data sets are very large, and if they were to display at an extent zoomed out like this, it would take a very long time to load and it would look quite ugly. So just be aware that it may not always show up when you turn it on and off. And the best way to figure out if it's, there's an error, or if it's just not displaying because of the scale or the extent that it's at, is to look at whether or not it's grayed out. So hyposymmetry right here is a prime example. It's grayed out, meaning that it's not showing because we're zoomed too far out. And same with contours. But once we zoom in, and as you can see down in the bottom here, it's telling us that it's loading the data. There we go. It'll display. That's just because at that greater extent, it would bog down and nothing would work. Okay, I'll turn these contours off. Elevation. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was the linking to metadata. So if you're unsure what something is, again, you can turn it on, and you can actually click on said layer, and it will take you to, pardon me, it's this arrow over here. It'll take you to some options that you have. So here you can actually change what the visibility scale that you want it to be. If you find that performance is slow, or you only want it visible at a certain scale, you can change it here. You can turn off and on how it's visualized. This is also where you can turn on the labels that I was talking about earlier. I won't turn them on for this layer. I'll use a land layer for that demonstration. And lastly, well, you can download it as well, but this is the metadata. So this is the information regarding this layer, so what we're looking at. So if we click on that, it'll link us to all of the information that we have on said layer. So it talks about where it's coming from, it talks about the contact, it talks about when it was last updated, so on and so forth. Okay, the next subject is adding custom data. So it's easy to go in there and guess where an area of interest is, or you want to see if there's coverage of some sort of data set. But what's really handy is if you have a shapefile, a CSV, a KML, these are all typical spatial data formats. There's a function that allows you to bring your own data into GeoYukon and overlay it on top of whatever layer or data that you're looking for. So upload data is located under the file option in the top toolbar. Multiple file options are available, meaning you can upload, there's I think about, I want to say 6 different files that you can upload, including shape files and CSVs and KMLs, the most common spatial data formats. And as I mentioned, it's the easiest way to determine where your area of interest is. An important note is it must be in WGS84 or NAD83. It's to say it must be in geographic coordinate system, so latitude and longitude, not northings and eastings. I will do a quick demo of uploading data. And I also realized I skipped a very important part of the layer panel, which is downloading data. So I'll also demonstrate that for an area of interest. Okay, so we'll do a quick refresh here. So I have a prepared shapefile for an area of interest for Parks Canada. So I just have it in a zip folder, and I'm going to navigate to File up here at the top, choose Upload Data, and what you can do is if you have this in a zipped folder, you can just drag the entire folder, and you want to make sure that you have the shapefile and all corresponding support files. So your projection file, your XML, everything that goes along with the shapefile. Otherwise it won't project right. So then we just hit upload, call it whatever you want. This is just how it will be displayed in the layer pane. And you can symbolize it now. If you're not sure what you want it to look like, it's fine. You can always go back and change the symbolization. For this, I know that I want to be dashed. I want it to be fairly thick because I know it's a large area. The outline color, we'll just do black and maybe a red on the inside, make it nice and bright, nice and thick. Fill style, do a horizontal, which just means there's going to be lines going through it, and we will proceed. There, as we can see, here's our area of interest, and it's just a handy way to figure out what exactly is available. So why don't we see what kind of, if any, I'm not sure, I'm kind of making this up as I go. Let's see if there's any forestry data available in this area. Okay, nothing. First Nations, maybe? Okay, all right. So here we have some First Nation settlement land surveyed. That's these lines that appeared. So if we want a data set that our area of interest intersects, there's a number of ways we can do it. What I suggest doing is left clicking. That'll highlight the area that you're looking for. You know, if it's easy if it's just one feature class that you're looking for or one layer. You can. It looks like there's actually two intersecting areas. So looks like we have two different First Nations that intersect our area of interest here. So let's say I'm looking for this larger territory here. Go to view additional details, and that'll bring up what exactly that is. The other thing we can do is find the data on the map and use the arrow here to expand the results. And again, clicking on it will bring it up. And if we want to do any sort of analysis with it, we can use these three dots here. And lastly, this sort of list looking option can actually allow you to export this to a shapefile, including all the attributes, or to a CSV, or you can view it as in a table format. So quite a few options. We're getting a little advanced here. I'm not sure how many people are actually going to be using these functions. I just want to make you aware that they do exist. So we'll do a refresh here. Okay, so I wanted to circle back around to layers. I think it's probably important to touch on how to download data if you want to use it for some other analysis in a different application. So let's work with elevation data. So I'll toggle it, I'll expand it. I will toggle the contours, so that's what I'm interested in. And I want 1 meter contour intervals for Whitehorse area. As you can see, they're not displaying because we're not zoomed in close enough. As we zoom in, they start to appear. And again, that goes back to the fact that if we were to display them when we're zoomed out, it would just be way too much data, and it would frankly not look very good. Let's go back down to southern downtown Whitehorse. Right. So if we click on contours 1 meter, meaning 1 meter intervals, we go over to the arrow, and here is the FTP data download. So that means you're downloading from our on-premise servers. Click online here, and this will take you directly to the options available for that layer. I'm not going to download it because I don't need it right now. I just wanted to make you aware that that's an easy way to get the data. All right, we're getting towards the end of this training session. There's one last thing I wanted to touch on because I think it's a common tool that people are using in GeoYukon, and that is printing a custom map. There's a print map tool, and that allows users to create a custom map in their chosen size, or you can export just an image of the map without the layout, and you can use this image in a GIS software. So what I'm going to demonstrate is printing a custom map and exporting a map to an image. All right, now I'm going to demonstrate how to print a custom map and export a map to an image. So the first thing you want to do is create the map that you want to display. So you want to get everything set up the way that you want it before you print to a layout. And I should also mention the main difference between printing and exporting is printing will create a layout that includes stuff like a title, a legend, notes, the date it was created, so on and so forth, where exporting is more for folks who want to use it in a different GIS application. So let's get something set up here. I'm not going to spend too much time, making it look too pretty. Maybe we'll turn on some land tenure again, turn on surveyed lands, and might as well do some customized labels here since we can. So if you didn't see what I should explain what I'm doing here. So I went into the layer that I have toggled, which in this case is land parcels. I want to see the lot size of these lots and create a layout of this particular area. And maybe I'll add contours as well. Why not? So I toggled the surveyed land. I toggled the land parcels surveyed. And I used that little over arrow. And I'm going to create some custom labels. Click Customize. We don't want the Canadian Land Survey Record Plan. We want feature area. And let's make it red. Nice and ugly. We'll apply. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, well that doesn't look very good. So why don't we turn down the size there so we can actually see what's going on. One more. I might actually zoom into an even closer area here. Okay, so for this purpose, let's call that good. All right. We also have a specific lot. We want lot number 13. We want to make it very apparent that this is the area of interest. So we'll go over to our draw toolbar here. We'll draw a circle. And here we can edit the style. Since the numbers are already red, maybe we'll do a purple with transparent fill. There's all kinds of stuff you can do here. You can create your own style. I'm not going to get too much into that. I'll let you play around with that. But there's, tons of, you can make it look as pretty or as ugly as you want, basically. So we'll do done. We'll do a little circle. There we go. Also want to probably add a little bit of text. This is our area of interest. Perfect. Well, not perfect, but good enough for now. And what else did I say I was going to do? Yes, turn on some elevation data, turn on some contours. Oh, I turned the surveyed land off. There we go. You can also change the base map. We can get some aerial photography, maybe. See how that looks. Sure, close enough to me. All right, so as I mentioned, the important thing is setting all of this up, making it look the way you want before printing it, because everything you see is that's how it's going to be displayed on your layout. And I might as well. No, you know what? That's fine. Yeah. So yes, so we have everything the way we want it to look. this is what I'm delivering to my client or putting in my report, whatever it is that you want to do. So we head back over to the home tool here in our toolbar here, and we're going to print a map. So it'll draw the area centered of what it is that you want to print. If you want to zoom in and out more, you can totally do that. And here you can choose the size. We'll do a standard letter size. We'll export it to PDF. That's pretty common. We'll leave it at low just so it exports fast. You can add a grid. Grids tend to make things look a little more professional, but and they may help some people with navigation. They can also kind of cloud it. So again, this is up to you to decide what you want to do with your map. We'll call this sample map. Here you can put notes like the date. Today is May. And we'll export this. Takes a minute. Open the file. And there you go. There's your PDF. And again, you can spend as much or as little time playing around with the layers and the labeling and adding text and drawing on stuff as you want. So the other option now is to export this to a image that can be used if you want it in other GIS platforms. So I like GeoTIFFs because they're georeferenced, and from there what it's going to do is it's going to create this TIFF which can be brought into, and it'll be georeferenced in another software like ArcGIS or Global Mapper or whatever it is that you're wanting to use. Yeah, so that's just a quick rundown. And as you can see, it takes a snap of everything. So what you probably want to do is close this print map thing first and get it just the way you like before you choose to export it, because everything you see will be exported. Okay, well, that's around the 45-minute mark. For those of you that stuck it out all the way through the end, thanks for watching. The last thing I want to finish on is never hesitate to reach out to us at geomatics.help@yukon.ca. If you have any questions about the layers or how to navigate GeoYukon, or if you're thinking there should be data and it's not displaying, anything at all, or even if you have input as to what you like or what you don't like, we take everything into consideration, and we're constantly trying to improve this service and application. And I will send out a link to those of you that want to a copy of this presentation. We have it on our FTP site as well. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.